What's happening, everyone? Brett Mix, Macho Wrestling 101. Hit like and subscribe if you like my videos. If you like the content, I do history of wrestling every day, and I stick up to date with Raw and SmackDown. Today, we got King of the Ring 1995, one of the most notorious events of all time from wrestling history because of not the right reasons, to say the least. This is easily one of the worst pay-per-views in WWF history, WWE history. December to Dismember, move along. That looks like Wrestlemania 3 compared to this. So, wait until we get into this one. Just wait. Some facts before the event. WWF King of the Ring 1995 took place Sunday night, June 25th, 95, unfortunately, at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This was the third annual King of the Ring event. This King of the Ring is widely considered to be one of the worst pay-per-view events of all time and had a buy rate of 150,000, which was the lowest of any King of the Ring in history. It was better than the Survivor Series 95 buy rate. God knows why. Because I think this event just left such a stain on fans' memories that they're like, okay, we're not ordering pay-per-view. It took a while for the fans to regain their trust and be like, okay, we'll buy these pay-per-views again. Because the event was held in Philadelphia, many familiar faces from the ECW arena were present. During the King of the Ring final between Mabel and Savio Vega, these fans began chanting ECW, 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 ECW. The public support of ECW, then an independently entity and not a third WWE approved brand, gaining the attention of Vince McMahon. And he later booked a small invasion type angle with the ECW promotion in 96 and 97 with the cooperation of Paul Heyman. Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith wrestled to a 15-minute time-limit draw on WWF Monday Night Raw on 6/5/95, June 5th, in a King of the Ring qualifying match. Yokozuna would later defeat Luger the next week for the final shot at the King of the Ring tournament. Doc Hendricks, it would have been better if Owen Hart and Davey Boy were in the tournament. Doc Hendricks and Vince McMahon did the commentary for this event. Handsome Doc Hendricks, they call him. And he does that. Whatever move he does. Just everything about this show is god-awful. Even the commentators' facial expressions. Before the pay-per-view aired, Savio Vega defeated Erwin R. Shyster in a match to fill the vacancy left due to Razor Ramon's rib injury. So again, we're even deprived of Razor Ramon in this tournament. Savio Vega defeated Erwin R. Shyster in the match to fill the vacancy left to Razor Ramon's injury. He was injured in a ladder match against Jeff Jarrett in Uniondale. I believe that was a house show because I don't remember any ladder match between Razor Ramon and Jeff Jarrett. Ramon had qualified on May 16th in Danbury, Connecticut over Jacob Blue. So Savio Vega is taking Razor Ramon's spot is pretty much what we're going to call it. Anyway, let's kick off the show. Opening contest. King of the Ring first round match. Quarterfinal. Savio Vega with Razor Ramon, so at least Razor Ramon's a manager. I mean, that at least the crowd gets to see him. Versus Yoko, we'll take small victories on this show. Takes on Yokozuna, who had Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette in his corner. And a King of the Ring quarterfinal match. Doc Hendricks delivers one of the worst opening speeches to pay-per-view in Color Guy history. So again, I'm even pointing that out. If you're wondering if I just went back and watched this show, the answer is no. I don't think self-torture is a good necessity to have. I think it's bad to put yourself through torture. So I reading the review I did, and believe me, I've seen the event 2 or 3 times, and that's 2 or 3 times too many. So I'm reading the review I did of this show, which is going to be fine. I guess I'll still hit all the right notes. I remember to write them down. But for all the other events, I do go back and watch. I couldn't with this one. I literally couldn't. I started to be honest. I literally started to do it, and Savio Vega's theme hit, and I was like, that's enough. That's enough. Because Savio Vega's theme hits like 6 times during this show. Maybe even like 12 times if we count the victories. A little bit of an exaggeration, but still, you get the picture. We're 5 minutes into this review, and we're just starting the first match. That's how much fluff, quality fluff, I'm hoping, was there before this even started. It's hilarious how everything on the show was painfully bad. Nothing clicked. Even backstage, when they were doing an interview, the mic cut out. I feel terrible for the fans who were in attendance. In fact, I almost feel bad for having to view this show again. This is what I wrote in the notes. So I'm even repeating the same things right now that I wrote in my notes. Let's get right to the match. Yokozuna was on another large stepping stone for Savio Vega in this underdog story the night that nobody cared about. Savio Vega began the underdog run. What they tried to do is they tried to replicate the Hitman run from 1993 in this pay-per-view with Savio Vega. It doesn't quite work with Savio. Fans chanted USA over and over, even though Savio Vega's for Puerto Rico. I guess that's part of USA. I too would probably be chanting something else by this point if I was there. Yoko is still wearing, I think Puerto Rico is part of USA. I know it's a part of the, I'm Canadian, so forgive me if I'm wrong. I know it's not a state, but it has some association with it. So don't think I'm that dumb. Yoko still went to work with Savio Vega. Owen runs out in a suit and attacks Razor Ramon in the injured rib area, the man he beat in the finals the previous year. I wish I could be watching that event any time now, but I'm stuck watching Yokozuna and Savio Vega. Yoko with a lot of trapezius holds. He charged into the ring post. Savio Vega slides back into the ring to the 9 count as he got worked on outside the ring. He drove his back into the apron. He comes back into the ring, and pretty much in the end, 8-14, Vega gets the upset victory, and he's on a roll. And nobody cared about it. This match had a huge contrast in styles, but not in the good way. It was just a little man versus a very, very big man who was applying a lot of headlocks, rest holds, chin locks, trapezius holds, and as an opener, it was slow and frustrating. Pretty much the opposite of what you want when you open a pay-per-view. And the fans, remember, in the free-for-all, the show before the pay-per-view, had to watch a Savio Vega match just before that. So that's 2 Savio Vega matches they had to watch back-to-back. So that's, with him winning, that's 4 times they've heard the entrance theme, and we're just through the first match of the night. That's dun, 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 that theme. Dun, 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 dun. I wish I don't remember it. Anyways, up next, a quarterfinal match between the Roadie with Jeff Jarrett versus Bob Holly in a King of the Ring quarterfinal. The Roadie's hair was about as bad as everything else on the night. He dominated the race driver by throwing him viciously into the turnbuckle. It must sound like I'm nitpicking everything, but honestly, everything on this show was just as bad as I'm saying it is. The Roadie does a dance, which is horrendous as well, and drops an elbow on Holly twice. Roadie hits a snapmare. Holly comes out of nowhere with an inside cradle, but Roadie kicks out at 2, and then slaps on a reverse chinlock. Bob Holly gets out and then hits a back body drop. Roadie Irish whips Holly into the ropes, and he hits the head scissors out of desperation, getting back some momentum. Roadie's hit with a power slam off the ropes, and he is practically begging at this point for Holly to back off. And I am begging for water, anything, to get away from this. The man who would later be known as Road Dogg sets up Hardcore on the top, but is pushed off the top, falling back first. Holly comes crashing down with a slam, but caught the worst of it as the Roadie got a boot up. Holly kicks out even though the official counts to 3. Strange. In the end, at 7:40, the Roadie went over. This match was a definite upgrade on the previous one to it. Only one of the fair matches of the night, and I rated it 2 stars. Next up, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, who was coming into his own at the time. Thank God. We had someone on the show with superstar potential, and Shawn Michaels was a superstar at this point. He had almost done 2 classic ladder matches with Razor Ramon. Luckily, Ramon's rib injuries would heal by SummerSlam, and they had that classic ladder match then. Arguably better than the first one. So he took on Kama with Ted DiBiase in the King of the Ring quarterfinals here. Shawn Michaels was arguably in his prime in 1995. The way he bumped, his size at the time, I shake my head when I see the names like Undertaker, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, all on the show, but they were all booked so poorly. Michaels had some momentum after winning winning the Rumble and headlining Mania. The fans were very into him here. Kama was the tough powerhouse that was the contrast for the $1 million corporation. The bell rings. Kama and Shawn begin with a nice chain wrestling exchange. A go behind waistlock, and Kama lifts Shawn up as he lands on his feet, connecting with rights to Kama. Kama tossed Shawn around the ring and was beginning to use his power advantage. He scoops up Shawn with a bear hug and then proceeds to driving his spine into the ring post. Kama methodically wore down Shawn with his power moves. Kama continues the back work as just like Diesel did to Bret the year before at King of the Ring 94 with the back work from the bigger man to the smaller man. Shawn sells it so well. Shawn down, though, didn't capitalize on anything when he gets up because Kama would ring him right back into the ring post. Shawn Michaels eventually connects with a flying forearm and kips up before attacking Kama. Shawn goes up high and drops a double axe handle to Kama and gets a long 2 count. Close near fall there. Shawn gets the big man in the corner and drops the right hands to Kama as DiBiase looks on concerned. By now, Shawn was on a roll with all the momentum and hit a sunset flip to Kama, which he looked to put him away with, but surely enough, the bell rings right as he does. This is a time limit draw at 15 minutes. Both men are out of the tournament. This was just like King of the Ring 93 with Tatanka and Luger. Both Shawn Michaels and Kama are ejected from the tournament. This was a good match for 15 minutes at a draw. This was a really good match. I rated 2 stars, 3/4. They did what they could, but unfortunately, both men were eliminated. And just looking at the next match, it's Mabel versus The Undertaker. That means they could have had The Undertaker take on Shawn Michaels in the semifinals. That would have been a better match, I think. That's personally me. Then Mabel and the bye. We got Mabel and a bye instead. But we could have had Shawn and The Undertaker in the semifinals. Anyway, next match, Mabel takes on The Undertaker in the King of the Ring quarterfinal, and I'm going to skip through a lot of this because this is one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my entire life. At 10:44, Mabel gets the victory over The Undertaker. One of the slowest moving matches in wrestling history because The Undertaker was his full zombie mode at the time, and Mabel's Mabel. If there's one thing worse than Mabel, it's King Mabel. So Mabel was just a bad wrestler. I mean, I liked Viscera. He was cool, and he was actually better as Viscera. But Mabel was just bad at this time. He was over with the crowd when he was a face, but at this heel push, it was just dreadful. He gets the win at 10 minutes, 44 seconds. That's a lot. There was just submission holds from there and slow strikes by The Undertaker to Mabel in this match. That's what I skipped past, so you're not missing anything. Next, we have a semifinal King of the Ring match as Savio Vega's back. 7th time we hear his theme for the night, with Razor Ramon taking on the Roadie with Jeff Jarrett in the King of the Ring semifinal match. Savio Vega's waving his hands in the air as if that's going to make the crowd care. I'm sure if the crowd weren't dead by this point, they'd sure be giving him the Rocky Maivia treatment by now. There was some Savio sucks chants. Roadie still does his usual tactics in an attempt to get the crowd behind Vega, who attacks early and often. Savio Vega with an inside cradle on Roadie, but he lifted the knee up. Roadie fought back, dropping Vega down. Roadie choked him out on the middle rope. Roadie couldn't come up with any offense, and now Vega hit a series of power slams before a boot to the face. Savio Vega Irish whipped him into the ropes, gets taken out by Double J from behind. Roadie drops Vega, and Savio reverses an Irish whip, sending Roadie into Double J on the apron. When Roadie realizes what has happened, he is distracted, and Vega goes for the inside cradle and the victory at 6:36. The match was to the point, but nothing remotely good. They tried hard, but it wasn't quite as bad as some of the other matches on the night. That doesn't say very much, though. 1.5 stars for that match. Next up, we had a Kiss My Foot match. Yeah. Between Bret the Hitman Hart and Jerry the King Lawler. And before the match, they showed Jerry the King Lawler go to some barnyard walking around in his bare feet. So Bret Hart's going to have to kiss that if he loses. The King had been making sure his feet would stink before the match. It's not as often as Brett had a bad match on pay-per-view. He did with Bob Backlund this year, but 1995 was not a good year for many things, including Bret the Hitman Hart opponents. He even had to fight Jean-Pierre Lafayette and Isaac Yankem on pay-per-view. That's not too bad, and he carried them to both good matches, especially Jean-Pierre Lafayette, Jean-Pierre Lafitte. But my God, it was just a bad year for 1995. All things considered, the numbers, Diesel's run, King Mabel, it just gets worse and worse when you look at Bret Hart's feud with Jean-Pierre Lafitte. We won't even talk about the feud. It was about his jacket. Anyway, King getting frustrated, chokes out Bret in the corner. Bret decides to take the King down. These two had wrestled a lot in the past couple of years. Their feud began 2 years before this event, King of the Ring 93, when the King interrupted Bret Hart for saying he's the real King. In the end, at 9:20, Bret got his revenge on Lawler by beating him with his own hold, the pile driver. Then he made Jerry kiss his own feet. The match consisted of basic spots and was very tiring through the first half. It got better, but I'll grade it 2 stars. One of Bret's worst pay-per-view matches ever. At 2 stars, so that shows how good Bret is. Next up, we had Savio Vega versus Mabel with Mo in the King of the Ring final. Savio Vega comes out again. And we're now underway, and his music hit again. Anyways, Savio Vega knows he's in tough here. This is the 4th match in 2 hours. He had already gone through a guy like Yokozuna, and now he has Mabel. Mabel was in control most of the match. Savio got in control eventually, but then Mabel turned things around, choking him out in the corner. Things were so bad at this point that the ECW chant started up, and McMahon started to get his commentary a little bit louder. Would you look at this? My God, everything is right. Everything is fantastic here in this match. I can't do it. I can't do everything. That's fantastic. Either one. I can't do McMahon's voice very well, especially with my voice right now. I can't do it. When I was a little kid, I could. McMahon tries to drown out the ECW chants. Mabel caught Savio Vega in the air and slammed him hard to the mat after a bear hug. Mabel covered him, and the fans cheered as it was over, and I'm not making that up. They actually applauded when King Mabel pinned Savio Vega because the match was so dreadful at 8:32. So all that Savio Vega, all that push was for nothing, just for Mabel to simply defeat him. Who's writing this shit? The match was terrible, all things considered. Thankfully, any credibility was lost by this King of the Ring winner that could have been built back up. The event never recovered. This match is a dud. The first dud on the night, surprisingly, even though a lot of matches came close to a dud. And we still got the main event to go. A forgettable tag team match with absolutely nothing on the line. I'm not making this up. This is just worse and worse as it goes. Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow on one side versus Tatanka and Psycho Sid with Ted DiBiase. The $1 Million Corporation versus Diesel and Bam Bam. So Bam Bam had turned face by this point because he was heel in the feud with LT, where he fought a football player in the main event of WrestleMania. Yeah, this is 1995 for you. And so he's babyface again, and he's on Diesel's side, taking on Tatanka, who's now a heel, who was face in the last 2 King of the Rings. And Psycho Sid is now a heel as well, with Ted DiBiase. They all do their backstage laughter. You know, when the heels used to always laugh, you know, maliciously, they'd be like, Ted DiBiase does his laugh, Sid laughs, Tatanka goes, They all do their laugh backstage as they're all heels. I miss that old school heel promos where they all used to laugh, and that was great stuff on a night that's not great. I can't stress how unimportant this match felt. The crowd was just so I can't explain in words how you must imagine. This is just me watching and reviewing the event. Could you imagine buying a ticket to seeing this show live and then being there and then having this match main event after you just watched Mabel beat Savio Vega in the King of the Ring finals to one of the worst matches of all time? Could you imagine sitting there through this main event and what you're feeling that you just looked forward to this night for so long, and you're at a pay-per-view, a WWF pay-per-view, and you think it's going to be amazing, and you watch this shit, and could you imagine the reaction? Well, we didn't have to imagine. We could see it. The crowd was dead for this match. it's beyond boring. It was just a ton of offense both ways. Who gives a shit? In the end, Diesel won. Bam Bam got the victory at 17:35. The misery was over. Just a bad match, let alone event. Everybody in attendance deserved a refund. I gave it 3/4 of a star. Overall, I give this pay-per-view a 2 out of 10, and that's being nice. It was absolute worst wrestling pay-per-view in company history. December to Dismember at least had the Hardys M&M match and maybe an Elimination Chamber on it. This had, the Michaels Kama match that ended up a draw? The Roadie match that got 2 stars? I mean, Bret Hart and the King having decent chemistry, but in a Kiss My Foot match? And I'm just naming everything good or passable. If I start naming the Undertaker and Mabel match, the Mabel Savio Vega match that even happened, let alone the King of the Ring final, Mabel becoming king, the Careless Tag Team main event, the other matches in the mid card and the opener that just Savio Vega's music hitting 7 times, the mic's not working, the Doc Hendricks on commentary, everything about this event sucked. And giving it a 2 out of 10 after I'm going over it is actually maybe even better than I once thought it was. So that's your King of the Ring 1995 review. Hallelujah. We get to move on and we get to watch a pretty good King of the Ring. Actually, the next 3 King of the Rings are awesome. 96, 97, 98. Well, I'm not going to say awesome, but 98 was awesome. 97 was pretty good, and 96 was pretty good. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 King of the Ring reviews, so tune in for those. As for King of the Ring 1995, bye-bye. I will never be reviewing or watching this event ever again, and that gives me solace. That makes me content. That makes me happy. So I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. King of the Ring 1995 is over. Hallelujah.